Well, good afternoon. It is Sunday the 14th of June and we are on day 4 of our Duncan Edwards virtual walk, and today we are at Priory Park. So good afternoon everyone, thank you very much again for joining me here today. The Priory Park is the closest park to Dudley Town Centre and about 5 minutes from my office and museum. And as you can see, and as you will see as we go on through the walk, it is a beautiful part of Dudley. The park covers 19 acres within the town, and as you will now see, we are in the grounds of a priory, a 12th century priory or monastery. The area was founded in 1160 by Gervase Pagnell, someone who I've mentioned a couple of times over the last few days. He was the former Lord of Dudley and he lived in Dudley Castle and made this area in memory of his father. The grounds also housed this Cluniac Priory, which was dedicated to St James's. Now, Cluny is a region in France and also is a small hamlet in Fife in Scotland, which coincidentally is where my lovely brother-in-law Alan Gibson lives, and that held an order of monks that went around the world proclaiming their faith and building monasteries, and this is one of them. The Ward Church is also called St James's, which stands at Eve Hill at the top of the Priory estate, and it is the church where Sarah and Gladstone got married, but I'll mention a little bit more about that tomorrow when we go to Wolverhampton Street School. The Priory itself is built of limestone, something that the area is known for, and it was mined at Wren's Nest, literally around about a mile from where we are now. I mentioned it yesterday as we walked up Cedar Road going to the Priory School entrance that Duncan would have used. Wren's Nest is a local heritage site which recently applied for World UNESCO Heritage status, and that of course is the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organisation. The limestone quarries hold fossils that are found nowhere else in the world, including a species of trilobite known as the Dudley bug, and this is the symbol of our town and is on the Borough Council's coat of arms. The scientific name for it, and excuse me if I say this wrong, but I think it is pronounced as Calamine blumenbachii, and it is evidence that this area and the area that I've been in the last few days was once underwater, and when that water subsided, the trilobites were formed, and that was roughly about 425 million years ago. In the 1530s, with the dissolution of the monasteries and the Catholic faith, this priory here, the monastery, was closed. And that was because, of course, King Henry, even though he was married to Catherine of Aragon, who every history book will describe as the most perfect queen and loved by everyone, had fallen in love with Anne Boleyn. And he literally moved heaven and earth and beheaded a few people along the way so that he could marry Anne. And in doing so, of course, he broke all ties with the Pope and the Catholic faith, who did not, of course, believe in divorce. And the Church of England was formed as we know it today. Henry visited Dudley Castle, and so did his daughter with Anne Boleyn, Queen Elizabeth I, on several occasions. Now, Anne Boleyn, of course, as we all know, didn't provide Henry with a son and heir that he so desperately wanted and needed. And, of course, because of it, she lost her head and all of the Catholic faith was diminished. All religious artefacts from this building and from others were burned. There's no evidence, though, that the monks here were killed, but they certainly had to run for their lives. And the building was given to Sir John Dudley, who was the then Duke of Northumberland, in 1540. He, however, upset King Henry as well. Now, it wasn't a case of just unfriending him on Facebook back then, of course. Oh no, no. He lost his head as well, something that King Henry was very fond of doing. Not a wise move. He ended up in the Tower of London and, as I say, was beheaded. So the furniture and fittings were all moved and the building fell into the ruinous state, kind of much as we see today. It is a huge shame, but a really, really big part of our history here in Dudley, and just proves how far back our history goes and how much of it that we really do have. But this was once a thriving and an adored priory. Such a shame, but it is, as I say, it's part of our heritage now, and a place that lots of people will come. Lots of people there today having picnics, probably totally unaware of the history that surrounds them. But I love the history of this park. Now, all around us as we walk on was the playground, and to some extent the training ground for Duncan Edwards. This was his backyard, if you like, and a place that he knew really well. I think he knew every path and every nook and cranny of it, because he would spend hours and hours playing here. As you can see, it is very well maintained and is a popular local beauty spot. And for saying that the town centre is literally 5 minutes away, I think it's absolutely lovely. Now, the building that we are approaching now is Priory Hall, and this was built in 1925, and it is a place that I would love to live in. You'll see a little bit more of it in a minute as we walk by, but I do think it's a splendid building. And along with this park and the building, it was officially bought by the council in 1926, and these grounds were then opened to the public in 1932. Today it is the local registry office and provides a lovely setting for hundreds of weddings that take place all year round. Of course, there's not much happening at the moment with the lockdown, and the gates are locked, so I can't take you into the grounds of it. But it is a lovely building, and I do love it. As I say, I would love to live in that building and have this as my backyard. It's beautiful. But again, all around us is where Duncan would have played, staying out all day, of course playing football with the many friends that he had on the Priory estate. So this is a better look of the hall, and you will see as we walk through the park that it really is such a beautiful setting, and it's really well looked after by the people on the Priory. There's very little signs of there being any kind of vandalism. There was a Friends of Priory Park, which is sadly dissolved now. They don't run it anymore, which was a great shame, because they really put their heart and soul into keeping this park as beautiful as it is now. But the Priory residents do have a lot of pride in it and do look after it really, really well, and I have to say, as do the council. You can see here the lovely flower beds. It really is such a beautiful spot right in the middle of the town. And there's another shot of Priory Hall. Now, the Black Country is an area that's covered by 4 boroughs, and there's lots of debate what those boroughs are and what those areas are. But they are defined as Dudley, Sandwell, Walsall and Wolverhampton. Now, to me, Wolverhampton is in Staffordshire, but that's how the boroughs were designated, and that's how we define the Black Country. But there is a lot of debate what the border lines are, if you like, because as you go to each area, our accents become very different, and the further into Wolverhampton you go, and the other side of Wolverhampton, you get a kind of a Stoke, Staffordshire kind of accent. And if you go the other way into Sandwell, then it's definitely, in my opinion, part of Birmingham, and the accent becomes more Birmingham than Black Country. However, as a borough council and as residents, that's how we define it: Dudley, Sandwell, Walsall and Wolverhampton. And between those areas, we boast having 69 famous sporting people. It's a huge amount for the borough. The borough covers about, within its borderlines, covers about 138 miles. But we do have lots of famous sporting people here. Duncan, of course, is the most famous of those. But we're coming towards now the statue of a lady that some of you will have heard of. Most definitely, if you're from Dudley, you will have heard of her. Not necessarily if you're out of the area. But it is a lady that we are very, very proud of here in Dudley, who, from a very modest background, achieved great things. And we're just coming up towards her statue now. So again, as we look around us, apart from this pavilion, of course, which has been newly built, this is the area that Duncan would have played. The tennis courts are quite a new feature, and I'll tell you why in a second. But the playing fields here were opened by Sir Bobby Charlton a little while ago. But this is a place that Duncan would have known so well, and if these tennis courts had been here when Duncan was a kid, he would have undoubtedly have been playing tennis too. But it is a beautiful setting. The main Priory Road is just there, as you can see, but it is really a beautiful peace haven here in Dudley. So, as I say, we're coming up towards the statue of this other great sporting icon of ours, and her name was Dorothy Round. Now, I've got a newspaper clipping of Dorothy up here, which I'm just grabbing. A bit difficult with trying to show you, so I'm just going to place this on this bench here, just so you can see it. But this is Dorothy Round. This is a very old newspaper clipping, so I do try and keep it as flat and as clean as I can. But that is Dorothy Round. She too was born in Dudley, and she is known for, obviously, from the photographs, as being, sorry, a bit wobbly with the camera then, our great tennis player here in Dudley. She was born in 1909, and she rose to fame after winning the women's single championships in Wimbledon in both 1934 and 1937. She also won the Australian Championships in 1935. She had great successes at mixed doubles, winning 3 titles with the famous Fred Perry. Now, I can't see my camera screen very well, so I'm sorry if I'm a little bit wobbly. The sun is in my eyes, but there's Dorothy. She was adored by the people of Dudley and became a household name. In fact, when Dorothy got married, the streets in Dudley came to a standstill because everyone wanted to come and wish her well. She really was a people person, and she didn't really have a black country accent. She did speak really quite well, but she was a black country girl, and she was very, very proud of it, and she loved the people of Dudley and would always make time to speak to them. And as I say, she was adored, and she was a household name. She wrote a series of books about tennis as well, and I'm very fortunate to have one here, Dorothy Round's Tennis for Girls, and it is a book that she signed, and somebody donated that to our museum, because the Duncan Edwards Foundation is a small museum as well, not only to Duncan but to the people of the Black Country. Now, she obviously knew Duncan. She met him on several occasions, and she held him in high esteem. She was really, really proud of what Duncan was achieving, and in return, Duncan was very proud of her too. And she was certainly somebody that he looked up to. But we are now approaching rather the place that is the most relevant to Duncan, because as well as being the area that Duncan played in, it is the part of the town that does indeed house the blue plaque in recognition of his life here in Dudley. There was much debate on where that blue plaque should be. whether it should be at his birthplace at 23 Malvern Crescent, or whether it should be at 31 Elm Road, where he's known for living and where he was signed for Manchester United. But a good sort of lever, if you like, was for it to be here at Priory Park, the very place that Duncan played and where he perfected his skills. And this, of course, is the blue plaque. It is, I believe that all of the places merit a blue plaque, actually, where Duncan was born and where he lived. It wouldn't hurt to have a blue plaque on all of them. But having said that, it's not that easy to do, and it's not that cheap either. And it is down to our ex-MP Ian Austin and to our former Mayor, Councillor Dave Tyler, that this plaque is here today. And I'm really pleased to say and proud to say that I was one of Dave Tyler's ambassadors during his mayoral year. So on October the 1st, 2016, which would have been Duncan's 80th birthday, we had a gala dinner to dedicate his life and his birthday at Brierley Hills Civic Hall, and that raised money for two fabulous charities. But at 3 o'clock, kick-off time, we came here, and there is Dave Tyler, our lovely friend with Sir Bobby Charlton, who stepped in because Sam Allardyce, who was the then England manager and also from Dudley, was going to come and unveil it for us and attend the dinner. But then he got his knuckles rapped and pulled out, of course, because he had to resign 2 days before our event, bless him. Put us all into a huge panic what we were going to do. But Bobby, as always, bless his heart, stepped in and unveiled the plaque for us. Now, I'd met Bobby on several occasions during my filming of my documentary And Then Came Munich, and then again in 2003 at Sarah's funeral. But I was over the moon when he stepped into this pavilion and came over to me and said, "Hello Rose, how are you?" It really was a really proud day for me. I don't know if you can see it through that cellophane, because he'd remembered me, and I was so honoured and so proud that he had, because he really is a great man of football. It was also lovely because I'd invited our great friend and valued ambassador Brian Mulholland, Molly, as some of you will know him. And I'll never forget the look on Molly's face when Sir Bobby signed his T-shirt for him. It was a very happy occasion and a very proud one for all of us. Brian, incidentally, is leading the campaign to get K Stand at Old Trafford renamed the Jimmy Murphy Stand. So I urge all of you, please sign the petition. Let us get a stand named after Jimmy Murphy. He was the hero of Manchester United. He saved Manchester United, and it is the least that we could do, and it's the least that the club could do. So if you're a Manchester United fan, if you're a Duncan Edwards fan, or if you just realise Jimmy Murphy's worth, then please do sign this petition. And if anybody from Manchester United is watching, come on lads, get your finger out. It's not going to cost that much money to get that stand named after him, and after what he did for your club, he deserves it. So please sign the petition and let's get this great man recognised at last for being the hero that he is. Tomorrow we're going to go to Wolverhampton Street School, or indeed what is left of it, and you will hear a little bit more about Duncan's school life, his first taste of fame, and his love for Morris dancing. So join me tomorrow for that. Thank you for all your lovely comments and for all the support you're giving me. I really do appreciate it. It is a lovely day here. We had a thunderstorm last night, and that cleared the air a little bit. It's still a little bit overcast, but the sunshine is lovely. So please enjoy the time in your little social bubble. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.